What is up, guys? Toast here, Get Burned. Today I want to talk about competitiveness in Dragon Ball Z games. So, since Hyper Dragon Ball Z has gotten a lot of, I guess, attention since it has put out its Majin build, which I'll put the link to in the description, because I know that it is a very well-made build, very good fan game, and I know a lot of people really do love it, so I'll leave a link to it in the description if you want to go check it out. But I know a lot of it has gotten some attention about it being a competitive sort of Dragon Ball game, and that's because it's based on, or made in Mugen, which is like a big engine that everybody uses for, I guess, fan-made fighting games. So everyone's been talking about it, and since Xenoverse had come out, everybody was talking about they wished it was competitive, or they wished that Dragon Ball Z games as a whole were competitive, because back in the day, Budokai and I guess you could say Infinite World 2, even though that didn't get a lot of attention itself, a lot of people like to praise those games on being competitive. They like to, praise the games, saying that they were the most competitive Dragon Ball games. And while that may be true, I guess you could say that those are the most competitive Dragon Ball games. I personally don't think they're that competitive to the level of the games that really everybody uses the word competitive for in the gaming community, like, Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, all those games that you always see at EVO and everything like that. Like, nobody ever really talks about Dragon Ball games for a reason. The closest thing that we've gotten, at least as of recently, for a Dragon Ball game, an official one, that was competitive, was Super Extreme Butoden, and that game doesn't have online, doesn't have a lot of other things, it doesn't have a lot of characters, which, even though a fighting game usually doesn't require a lot of characters, but that's the closest thing that we've had in terms of a competitive fighting game, but it's still easy to pick up and play. So I kind of want to talk about the reason why I personally think that there will not be a real competitive Dragon Ball game, as much as, even though some people seem to want it, it still, I don't think, has any chance of happening, and here's why. So competitive games like Street Fighter, Tekken, and Mortal Kombat have been around for a long time, since like the SNES. While Dragon Ball games have been out since then as well, it doesn't mean that Dragon Ball games can instantly be competitive to where everybody's going to be incredibly excited for a Dragon Ball game like that. Because think about it like this: Dragon Ball games have usually, at least back then, been praised because they were like the show. Now Budokai, not so much, because Budokai itself, if you think about it, is not really as much like the show as you may want to think. I mean, Budokai Tenkaichi is a lot more close to the show, only because it's 3D, and a lot of the things you do in that game are more similar to what happens in the show than what happens in Budokai. Budokai is more if they decided to have a 2.5D fighter, but have Dragon Ball on top of it, which was good, that was fine. But personally, I don't think that a lot of the fan base really would love it that much. I mean, let's be real here. Some few of the Dragon Ball fan base are kids. Now, obviously, there are a lot of adults, but fighting game is something that a lot of people need to have real interest in. Like, it has to be a really deep fighting game. So first of all, they would have to get a developer who's really good at making fighting games. Now, Arc System Works, who actually worked on Super Extreme Butoden, I know that they made, I believe, Guilty Gear and the BlazBlue, or BlazBlue, I'm sorry, I don't know how really to say it, that series on the PlayStation. I don't think that they would want them to make a hardcore fighting game just because of how much people wouldn't be able to get used to it. A lot of people's reasons for not getting into Street Fighter as heavily as you see maybe other pros do, or people at tournaments, is because there's such a huge learning gap, and otherwise you're just getting destroyed online. Now, while a lot of people would think, oh man, that would be great, I would love to have a game that's so competitive to where I could destroy people online with my skill and everything like that, but for a Dragon Ball game, the fan base compared to Street Fighter, because Street Fighter has always been a competitive game. It's been competitive for a very long time, since it was in its early stages, at least I would assume so. I mean, when I played my Street Fighter, I think it was 2 Turbo, I could be wrong, on the SNES, I loved it, and it was a very competitive game, or at least for me when I fought against my friends. So I don't think that a Dragon Ball game could really work that way. I mean, you can have Dragon Ball games, which, keep in mind, the online would also probably be bad. I mean, either that or they wouldn't include online, which for a fighting game in this day and age doesn't really work. You really can't put out a fighting game in this day and age and expect for it to do well. But I think that having a fighting game Dragon Ball game for the fan base doesn't fit. It doesn't work because Dragon Ball itself is such a niche like anime, to where, like, obviously, even though it's based on martial arts, especially stuff in Dragon Ball, and I guess you could say Dragon Ball Super, it's more based on martial arts and not just jumping around and doing ki blasts, it still is a very niche and a very, I guess, fan servicey thing for us to even have games about it. So having a fighting game, a really real fighting game, I just don't think it could work. I don't think that the fan base is correct for it. I don't think that everything else here, along with Dragon Ball, in terms of just itself, I don't think it should work that way, because I think that the Dragon Ball game should mainly be about having the show and making it into a game. I think that's what I think that that's what it should be. I think they should have just the show and try and make that show, or Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, and just make that into a game to where it's fun, and just like the show is fun to watch, make it fun. And I don't think that a fighting game would really suit that promise. But if you disagree, please be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you guys think that a Dragon Ball fighting game would it not work? Do you think it would work? Or what do you think? What do you think about the fan base in terms of how they would be able to digest a fighting game like a Dragon Ball Z game? Tell me what you think. And also, if there was a Dragon Ball fighting game, what company would you like to develop it? Would you like Arc System Works to develop it? Or would you like some other company, maybe like NetherRealm or something, to develop it? Tell me what you think in the comments down below. Really see you guys' thoughts on this topic. I know I didn't really go that in depth into it, but that's because it's a simple premise to me. I don't think that the fan base works for Dragon Ball to have a fighting game of a depth, a Street Fighter, Tekken, all of those. I don't think that a Dragon Ball game could ever work like that. So tell me what you think. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day and peace out. Also, keep in mind, I do have 2 new things I want to kind of plug here, I guess. I have a SoundCloud, which I kind of just do some audio blogs on there, and that's more of me talking like myself. I'm not as hyped up or whatever as I am in my videos. So if you want to go and maybe hear some of that, I talk about things that I usually wouldn't make videos about. Like I just did a ramble yesterday about YouTubers versus YouTube and stuff like that. If you want to go see those, then click on the link in the description. I also have an Instagram. Don't know how to use Instagram, but I made it because Rhyme has been pestering me to make it for like the last few months. So I decided why not make it. So you want to check that out as well. That will also be in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video, as I said before, and peace out.